Trevor Ariza has gone through a procedure on his ankle and will be out for at least 8 weeks. Now, this isn't anything really serious, but he will be missing a significant amount of time, and his absence reveals a critical weakness the Lakers have in their roster construction. The Lakers don't really have another guy like Trevor Ariza, a 6'8", 3-and-D wing. Their other options at small forward are Kent Bazemore and THT. But now THT has a thumb injury and will also miss significant time. Even so, both he and Bazemore are undersized at 6'4". Although their long wingspan can help with their defense, they're still undersized and could have trouble defending bigger wings. Melo played a lot of small forward throughout his career, but at this point, he's pretty much exclusively a power forward. Of course, they could also play Lebron at small forward, which is probably their best option. That's the position he's been playing for years. But this year, both he and AD were supposed to move up in position to the 4 and 5 respectively to accommodate for Russell Westbrook. This lineup was supposed to be much better for their spacing and also for their defensive versatility. Now they'll have to go back to a traditional lineup, playing AD at the 4 and another big at center. That's not the worst thing in the world. The Lakers have been playing that way for the past few seasons and even won a championship using this formula. But for this particular season, this isn't their best lineup. Now, Russell Westbrook will probably have a harder time adjusting. With Ariza and the rest of the injuries they're dealing with this early in the season, it may be harder for this team to build the chemistry on court during these crucial early stages of the season. Once LeBron goes to the bench, they'll have to go to one of their smaller players. So this goes back to the problem the Lakers have. They're extremely small in the perimeter. Now, I've heard about the Lakers' size and how they're so big, and that's true when it comes to their centers. But a lot of them aren't even going to play in key moments. When you look at their perimeter players, they're really small. Their guards are small, most of their forwards are undersized. So far in the preseason, they've been running a lot of 3-guard lineups because they don't really have any other options. And they may have real issues matching up with teams that have bigger, longer wings and perimeter players. Now, this won't be that big of an issue if they can stay healthy, but that's the other issue. I'm not sure they can stay healthy. It's only a few games into the preseason, and they're already dealing with multiple injuries. What's scary is that most of these injuries are to the few young players that the Lakers do have. These are supposed to be the more durable, more energetic players that we can rely on. We already knew that the Lakers were an old team, and with that comes the problems with having older players. These older players will tend to have more of these nagging injuries here and there, and older players tend to take longer to recover, so they will miss more games. And what's even worse is that one injury can cause a domino effect. If there's just one injury, the next player or multiple players have to make up for that loss and replace that injured player. This will force them to play more minutes than they're accustomed to, and a lot of these players will be put in positions that they aren't really comfortable playing. These older players were signed taking their age and mileage into consideration. They were signed with the expectation of playing only a few minutes. But if there are multiple injuries, more of these players will have to play more minutes, and that could increase the likelihood of injuries. What the Lakers should do is use their 15th roster spot to sign another player that's younger but also experienced enough to rely on. Not these rookies or two-way players that won't realistically get playing time. I've been saying this, they should sign James Ennis, a 3-and-D player who can help with their wing depth. At 31 years old, he's not a super young guy, but he's not close to retirement either. He can be a valuable player. He can help take the burden off of these older legs and also help with the Lakers' size on the perimeter. But I doubt that they'll do this right now because they would rather keep that roster spot open for potential players in the buyout market. There's definitely a lot of talent and a lot of experience on this team, and Rob Pelinka did probably as good of a job as you can working with pretty much just minimum contracts. But the season hasn't even started, and we're already seeing the downsides of having a really old team. Injuries are a part of the game that everyone has to deal with, not just the Lakers. But they're really doing themselves a disservice by relying on players that are statistically more likely to get injured. The best ability is availability. I'm sure by the time we get to the playoffs, the team will look different. And I think the changes that need to happen will be addressed. And I think those issues are their age and their size.